let's start. So Ecolabels drives sustainability in procurement. That's basically the title of my presentation, and that TCO Certified is available for the purchase of IT goods. I don't know how much information you have, and if you have heard about TCO Certified before. It is a global sustainability certification, so it's used all over the world. And it's containing both environmental and supply chains social responsibility criteria beyond legislation. So it takes further steps than the legislation, as for instance on chemicals on EU level. And what's included in the certification scheme is verification of all products and factories and other initiatives that could be connected to the products, because it's the products that we are certifying. And for the verification, we put 20,000 hours per year. It's made by independent parties. And today we have 12 product categories in the IT segment. So it's just the IT. So it's screens, it's data center products. That's and a recent contribution is imaging equipment, so printers, etc. We have today 3,500 certified models from over 25 brands in our product register. And since the beginning, it's almost 10,000 products that's been certified. And the first certification was launched in 1992. And today we update the criteria every third year, and we follow the principles for ISO 14024 type 1, which means that it should be basically aligned with what buyers in public entities can use. So you can use the certification. And we are an independent organization. We are non-profit because we are owned by the Swedish union, TCO, and it's free to use for buyers. It's the manufacturers that pay a license fee to have TCO certified on their products. And our vision is that IT products should have an environmentally and socially sustainable life cycle. And we do that with the certification documents that we have published on our webpage, but it is when you buyers ask for the certification. So when you use TCO certified in the procurements, that's actually what drives change. So you have an important role to play in this field. And why do we do this? It's because there are a lot of issues related to IT products, and we want to solve this. The supply chain is very long and complex. It's not all manufacturers that actually have control of the whole supply chain. And the manufacturing is made in third world countries where the conditions, working conditions and human rights are much worse than they are in Europe, and they have another view of the value of a life. There are conflict minerals added to the products: gold, tin, tantalum, and tungsten, and also cobalt. These are metals that are produced in areas where there are conflicts, and the incomes from the mines are going to finance these conflicts, to make them going on year by year. There is also a lot of hazardous substances added to the products. Plastics, for instance, it's getting their properties from adding chemicals. So they get different colors, properties like easy to bend, or harsh, hard, and etc. And these substances are more or less hazardous and hazardous to the environment. And we want to get around this. And then we have e-waste, which is the largest or fastest growing waste stream today. And that's because of the linear way of handling IT products. We produce the products, use them for quite short time, and then we just scrap them. So this is something that we, with TCO Certified, want to get around. And of course, IT can be used to reduce the environmental and climate impact in our society, as we do now when I am joining on link by link from Sweden, so I don't have to travel. But the IT sector's impact is quite large. 2% of the global CO2 emissions are related to IT, and it's growing a lot. Because we get more and more data centers, we are doing more and more work tasks and other tasks over the internet. And 2% is equivalent to the aviation world's aviation's global CO2 emissions. It's almost 10% of the global electricity consumed by the IT sector. And to produce a computer, it takes 22 kilos of chemicals and 1,500 liters of waters, and it generates a lot of mining and metal waste. And maybe you didn't know that 80% of the CO2 emissions is coming from the life cycle of a product is related to the manufacturing. So if we should amortize this 80% of manufacturing, this 80% of CO2 emissions from the manufacturers, we actually need to use the product for as long as we can. So if you can introduce in your organizations and in your procurement specifications that the product should be used for like 6 years, it's preferable for the environment. And then maybe you heard about greenwash and bluewash, because this is really, and today, especially when we have all these environmental claims that are popping up because people are getting more and more aware. That means that a lot of companies, they put environmental claims that are false or misleading. We actually read a global study, and 40% of the online environmental claims are false or misleading. And using a credible label or certification like TCO Certified actually drives responsibility and transparency. And you can be more sure that these claims that are related to the products are correct. And TCO Certified include criteria for a sustainable life cycle. So we have criteria for social responsible manufacturing, hazardous substances in the manufacturing phase, but also in added to the product, a climate impact. And we have from the manufacturer, we also have low environmental consumption related to the product. We have criteria to prolong the life length of the product, the lifetime, the use time. And good user properties means that the visual quality of the screen that you are looking at now is good. And that also means it's very important because that makes you want to use the product longer. We also have criteria for reducing the hazardous substances in the product, that the product should be possible to recycle, and that the manufacturers should provide information about where the product should be recycled. And also we have a sustainability performance indicator for reporting. And last week, we actually published a tool for reporting on the carbon emissions and etc. from the products. So you can take a look at that on our webpage. But what's the backbone actually of the certification process? I explained earlier in the presentation that we actually put 20,000 hours a year on the verification. And a product that will carry the TCO certified label, it needs to be undergoing independent verification of the product and the factories and some other brand initiatives. That means that auditors go to the factories. The products are sent to test labs that we have agreement with, that we are cooperating with, but they are independent from us. And these test labs are often placed in Asia, where the products, most of the products are manufacturers. So we have agreement with Intertech Semco, the German test house TÜV Rheinland, And they have test labs in China, in Korea, and in Taiwan, and I think also Japan. And the manufacturers send the products for test. So when you have asked for TCO certified, that the product should be certified according to TCO certified in procurement, the manufacturers need to send the product for test, have auditors going to the factories, and they need to present a test report that all these tests have been fulfilling the criteria in TCO certified, together with an application to send it to us with an application. And we go through this application, and before we issue a certificate, and we publish the product in our product registry, TCO's product finder. And if we find problems, because we do post-certification follow-ups also during the certificates, 2 years of validity time. If we find problems, we set up a corrective action plans together with the factories, together with the manufacturers, and then we follow up this corrective action plan. So when the manufacturers tells us that they have corrected everything, we send an auditor for final check. And the test labs and the test organizations, they need to follow 2 different ISO standards, 17021, 17025, depending on what they are testing or verifying. We are issuing a new generation every 3rd year. And when we are developing the criteria, today, it is since a year back, it's generation 9 of TCO certified that are the certification scheme that you are asking for in procurements. And but we have already started to work with generation 10. And when we design new criteria, we do this based on research. We are participating in research projects. We are also having a network of experts that we are working together with, experts that are working in different research projects and having the latest technology. And then when we put together a draft document, a suggestion for criteria, together with verification methods, we send this out for comments. And then we collect all these comments before we rewrite the suggested criteria and verification methods and publish these online on our homepage. And all these documents are publicly available to download free of charge. And this is a circular process that we are, going through in 3-year cycles. Our criteria for extended product lifetime aims to make it possible to circulate the products, to close these loops that I show in these pictures. So first of all, there should be possible to repair the products for you to use the product within your organization for as long as possible. That you should be able to, when you are not able to use the product in your organization, that you are able to send it or sell it further on for refurbish or remanufactures. And when the product has been refurbished, used in another circle or remanufactures, the product could be taken into part when it had its second life, and the components could be used for remanufactures. And then after that, when it's have a 3rd life, it should be recycled. That means that we have criteria for that the product should be durable and be possible to be repaired and upgraded. That it should be possible to replace the battery, and that the battery should have a certain quality. Should be spare parts available and a warranty. It should be possible to sign an agreement for extending warranty for like 3 years to 5-6 years. And lastly, and most not important, is this that there should be a software available for safe data removal. For we all know that it's very easy to put a computer in a drawer because you are afraid of your personal data being in somebody else's hands. When it comes to the reduced environmental impact, we look at the environmental management system of the factory that are producing the product, process chemicals. The chemicals that are used for the manufacturing should not be giving the users, the workers, cancer, etc. There should be certain recycled material content in the product, and also low environmental impact and energy consumption of the manufacturing. And of course, as we talked about, extended product lifetime. Energy consumption should be low, and here we often rely on Energy Star or equivalent, the battery, firmware, and standardized connectors. We also want to reduce the hazardous substances in the product, and we, of course, forbid the ROS, the criteria, the hazardous substances by the ROS directive, but we also know that these substances are substituted by some other chemicals. And for this, to make these chemicals being the safer ones, they need to be listed on the TCO Certified Acceptance Substance list. And that is based on green screen for safer chemicals. It's a benchmarking method developed by Clean Production Action in US. And the list, TCO Certified Acceptance List, Substance List, is available on our homepage. And the product should be designed for recycling and possible to send for responsible, environmental responsible take back. For the supply chain responsibility, we have criteria for the ILO core conventions, 8 core conventions, the UN Convention of the Rights of the Child, the local labor laws, and labor safety. We have a separate criteria for maximum 60 hours working week. And that's something we broke out because we saw that this was something that differed between countries. And then we have health and safety and management system should be available on the factories for continuous monitoring and improvement in the factories. We make interviews with the factory owners and factory people that are to ensure that they are working proactively to reduce or make the supply chain social issues better. And then we have, of course, the conflict minerals and cobalt. So we're tracing risks down to smelters and refiners. And the verification of the supply chain responsibility is done by structured work. So they should have an officially published code of conduct. We do a review, a third party, and at least one report per year per brand. But we also visit all factories at least every third year. Depending, we have a risk analysis for how often we go to the factories. If the factory is placed in China, for instance, we do the factory review every year. And we do spot checks in between the scheduled verifications. And deviations is handled through a corrective action plan. And this has made it's proven to be very effective. And if you want to ask for TCO Certified in procurement, note there is 12 different categories of certification documents. A lot of the criteria are the same for all the product categories, but some are related to how the products is outlined. Like for a display, for instance, we have a big set of criteria for good picture quality, but for headsets, we have other criteria, for instance, that they should be good quality of the hearing of the products, etc. So it varies a little bit. That's why we have 12 different product documents. And You should ask for that the product should be certified according to TCO certified notebooks, if it is a notebook. Otherwise, you can ask for TCO certified for headsets, for instance. Or if you feel that TCO certified is violating your procurement legislation, you should ask for the underlying criteria. And most important when you are talking to suppliers and the manufacturers is always to ask for a proof. And you should ask for a proof also in your procurement specifications and tell them how should they verify that they are fulfilling the criteria in TCO certified notebooks. And most easy is, of course, to ask for a certificate or that the product is listed in our product register. And public buyers, they also need to put equivalent certification or equivalent proof. And then I recommend that you specify what is equivalent label or proof. And for a label, include that it should be a third-party type 1 label according to ISO 14024, because it differs quite a bit between other types of labels and being an independent third-party type 1 label. And if you don't equalize labels with different scope, so don't put TCO certified as equivalent with Energy Star, for instance, because Energy Star is one of the criteria that energy consumption is one of the criteria that we have in TCO certified among like 40 others, especially for the notebooks. So if you ask for TCO certified and you ask for a certificate or that it should be listed in our product finder as a proof, the only thing you need to do to follow up on delivery is that the products are actually listed in a product finder or that the manufacturer can show a certificate. And do this controlled during the whole contract period. And I recommend you to include possibility to put legal actions if you don't get certified products delivered. And if the situation is that you don't have the products that you want are not certified when you want to sign the contract, you can provide a deadline so that the product doesn't need to be certified at the contract assignment, but you can tell them that they can include a certificate within like 3 months to 3 to 6 months. It's a very good way of pushing the development. And then I would encourage you to set goals for purchase of Ecolabel products, and you highlight Ecolabel products in tender portals so that your organization know what products to actually choose, and that you create a program for circulating products within your organization. Some of your colleagues might have resource intensive work tasks and need a computer every 3rd year, but there are others that are working in a reception or something that can actually inherit these old products from their colleagues. And set requirements for data center infrastructure, both your own, the co-located data centers and cloud services. And sign agreements for reuse or refurbish of products. And if you want to talk to your colleagues about sustainable IT, we have some good information on our homepage. And so, of course, ask for TCO certified. And take a look at our reporting tool for sustainability reporting. I will gladly help you through. And it's a lot of benefits using a robust and credible sustainability label. A robust and a credible sustainability certification have criteria and independent verification included, and is free of charge to use. We have put together a set of criteria that are those criteria that are the most to address on a product. And when we work to develop the criteria, we have direct communication with the supply chain, which means that that's something you benefit from. And you go together with a lot of other purchasers in a strong collective voice that have direct impact. So you benefit from big organizations that also use TCO Certified in procurement. And it reduces the risk of false claim like greenwash and blue wash. And it's very resource efficient for you to use a certificate or a certification. You don't need to have deep expert knowledge on the products and what the product materials included in the product and so on. And you don't have to follow up, like go to the factories and so on, read a lot of specifications. So that's resource efficient. And we have a lot of more information on our homepage. So I include this picture, and I suppose that you will get my presentation after the meeting. So, and thank you so much. I think time is out.